My friends at Easy Cater are workplace catering pros, helping you find food for everything from daily employee meals to staff meetings and special events. Visit easycater.com/leaderassistant to find out more.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Lopez, Executive Assistant at Source One Solutions. Today's leadership quote comes from Robin Sharma. Connect to a compelling cause with your heart, not your head. Then fasten your seatbelt because your life will soar.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
The Leader Assistant podcast is brought to you by Goody. If you send business gifts to employees, clients, or sales prospects, Goody is a game changer. You can send one gift or hundreds at a time without ever worrying about shipping details. With Goody, your gift recipients provide all their shipping info, and they can even swap out your gift for another option if they prefer. It's free to start gifting, and you can get a $20 credit when you sign up. Oh, and if you mention you heard about Goody from the Leader Assistant podcast, Goody will add an extra $10 credit to your account. So go to leaderassistant.com/Goody, that's GOODY, to start gifting today. Again, that's leaderassistant.com/Goody. Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and welcome to episode 160. You can check out the show notes at leaderassistant.com/160. leaderassistant.com/160. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jennifer Lopez. She's an executive assistant, also an author, lots of other things that we're going to talk about. So, Jennifer, how's it going?
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm doing well. What part of the world are you in?
I am currently in the bright and sunny area of Clearwater, Florida.
Awesome. I wish I was there because it was snowing this morning here in Kansas City, Missouri. So,
and I won't tell you anything about our 86-degree and sunny weather. It was awful.
Exactly. Well, let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about you and your career, and maybe how you ended up in the assistant role.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, thanks so much for having me on the show. You have a really fantastic podcast. So I'm so honored to be here. But I actually just started I did things a little backwards. I started being an executive assistant about 2 years ago. I say backwards because prior to being an executive assistant, I owned an executive assistant staffing company for a couple of years. So I was a little upside down there. But I have been here with Source One for about 2 years, and I absolutely love the role. I think that anyone in the executive assistant support role, we probably are all cut from the same cloth, that we can't just be sitting in front of a screen all day. We have to have about 50 things thrown at us in order to keep us happy. So that's really what my role mostly entails here. And I have 4 kids that I have at home. So I owe my training to raising them for, the 10 years that I stayed home with them.
Awesome. So what made you want to launch a staffing firm for assistants?
Yeah. So it's funny. I actually wanted to get out and do more in the community. And so I got involved with a local chamber of commerce, and I met some solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and really they just needed an extra hand, but they were at a stage in their business where they couldn't afford someone full time. And so I had launched a fractional executive assistant staffing agency, which was a solid hit. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but it was really a blessing that, things took a turn when the pandemic hit, because one of my clients, which happened to be the CEO of Source One Solutions, wanted to expand his services and invited me aboard his team, which was really just a perfect fit.
So what did you learn when it comes to hiring and finding a good assistant?
In the organization when I owned my own. I think that it's important to go into the EA role not just focused on the many tasks that we can execute and how we can, just switch hats at a moment's notice, but it's really all about, the compatibility of the executive and the support member, right? So, I can't tell you how many times it happened where I had told a client coming on, I've got a rock star assistant coming at you. They can get XYZ done in no time and be so efficient. And then you get the two in the room together and their personalities just aren't really compatible. So one of the exercises that I would do with customers at the time, and it actually helped me make my decision in joining forces with Source One, was really exploring what their vision, mission, and values were, and then matching the vision, mission, and values, primarily the core values, to the core values of an assistant. I can say, like, coming on here, like, community service is very, very important to me. Relationship building is very, very important to me. So even though we're an IT company, our core values have to do with relationship building, community service, clarity for the future, rise by lifting others. And I said, are you sure you're an IT company? Because we have like the exact same values, organization. So I think that getting into the role, it's really important to understand yourself at the core prior to seeking out an employer, and same for the executive employer. Really have a good understanding of what your core values are, and look for that in the person that you're looking to support you, because the tasks are going to change every day. So, skill set only matters to a certain extent.
Yeah. So I'm looking at a little bit of your bio, and your company that you work for was named one of the best places to work, or best workplaces in America by Inc. 5000 in 2021. So you support the CEO. Why was it on that list, or what makes it one of the best places to work?
Yeah, so actually, that's one of the national ones. Locally, for Tampa Bay Business Journal, we just heard for the 5th consecutive year we're one of the best places to work here too, and that really is like, it's so it's probably the most favorite award that our executive team acknowledges. But to be on the Inc. 5000, so you have to be on Inc. 5000 list for, I believe it's 3 consecutive years, which means you're one of the fastest growing companies in the country, right? So that is an accolade all on its own. But then Inc. sends out a survey to your team, and it's based off of the team's feedback that determines if you make the Inc. 5000 best workplaces in America. There were last year 429 in the U.S. and 7 in Florida, and we were so proud to be one of those 7. And if you ask my CEO, Robert, that's again the most important award, because it's not just about what we're doing. It's about the perception of the team and how the team feels when they come into work every day. And so that one is very, very meaningful.
So what's one thing that you do as EA to the CEO, or you actually, when I asked for your title, you said Executive Office Liaison / EA to the CEO. What's one thing that you do that's as a culture creator or culture champion?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I try to be the most smiley person that walks in and out of these these halls, because it's important, right?
Yeah, you got to show those teeth.
You have to. I think it's our role, part of our role, to try to exude a sense of calm through some happiness, because once people come into work, like, it's really easy to forget that work can be fun as well. So that, I think, is just like kind of a no-brainer, but sometimes it does have to be said. But so culture is actually one of my primary functions, and we celebrate team anniversaries during certain milestones, and they are really incredible packages that we do for team members that are, with us for 1, 3, 5, 10 years. So I facilitate that along with quarterly barbecues. We keep grills on site and we barbecue out in our parking lot at least every 3 months. And then we have community service projects. We have actually 8 official charity partners that we facilitate with on a quarterly basis. And our team will come out, 20 to 50 people and get involved in the community, one Saturday every quarter, which brings everyone together.
Nice. Love the company barbecues.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good too. You can come to one if you're ever in town.
Nice. I'll be there. So you have 4 kids. I was one of 4 myself. I'm the oldest of 4. So I know how fun and crazy that can be.
Yes.
And you actually wrote a book. So, you didn't have enough to do with 4 kids. So you decided to write a book called Chief Executive Mom, Run Your Home Like You Mean Business.
Yes.
Tell us why you decided to write a book and a little bit of what it's about.
Yeah. So, Chief Executive Mom, Run Your Home Like You Mean Business. It was a fun project. And I didn't start out thinking that I was going to write a book, but once we started, I started getting some information out. I found myself kind of saying the same thing over and over again from the core. And it didn't matter if it was to people that I was training in the business, prior to Source One, or if it were other moms that, were coming in and asking, well, how are your kids doing this? How are your kids doing that? So it became a really fun project. And it's about team buy-in, on both sides, right? Like it's very similar in the business world to what it is at home. So there are a lot of tasks, there are a lot of people and personalities to manage. And it's all about like making sure that you're all on the same page communication wise. And then like after you get the buy-in, how far can you go? Right? Like, because let's be real, as moms, especially a mom of, multiple children, it's really easy to get lost in the day-to-day. And then one day you wake up and you don't recognize that it's been 10 years since maybe you've looked in the mirror, right? So that is a very common theme, especially as you're just kicking off your family. And same in a support role, right? As an administrator or a support role, we're so busy doing the tasks that sometimes we really forget to take care of ourselves. So the underlying theme in Chief Executive Mom is get the team buy-in, get everyone on the same page and bought into the same objectives, because the more hands on deck you have executing those tasks, now you're freeing up your own time and you're able to kind of rediscover your own happiness and achieve a little bit of a better balance. So it's important to, fulfill all our passions by taking care of other people. But it's really important to make sure that you have a lifeline all on your own as well.
Yeah. So talk a little bit more about work-life balance. Like what are some of the, maybe what's your top 2 tips when it comes to avoiding burnout, resisting burnout, and really working hard and, leading well, but also taking care of yourself?
Yeah. So I think the first piece that, is kind of forgotten in identifying balance is actually identifying what balance looks like, right? Because balance is really just living the life you envision. And that's going to look a little different for everyone, even though, it might be felt like, I don't know, you need to go to the gym, you need to eat 0 calories and only have, organic grass-fed, whatever, right? So that looks different for everyone and at different stages of life. So identifying that first is key. And then the second piece of it really ties back into, the leadership quote from Robin Sharma, connect to a compelling cause with your heart, not your head. And I think that when you connect to a cause with your heart, people can sense your authenticity. And when they sense authenticity, it makes you a more viable influencer, right? Because it's not just about doing. Oftentimes in our roles, we have to engage other people And that's the tough part of the job, right? And it's being a mom or being a support role or having that support role. The toughest part is getting other people to buy in so you can, ultimately sway them to get you the materials that you might need or help with the tasks or engage in the way that you need to do it to make it productive. And to do that, you have to be able to connect with them and prove to them that you're doing this together. This is for the best. This is best for everyone if we travel down this road together. So I think to be a good influencer, you have to be authentic and connecting with the cause with your heart is certainly the best and fastest way to get there.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about your title, Executive Office Liaison. What does that mean and why is that part of your official title?
Right. So, fun fact, my CEO, Robert Hessel, he actually lives in Europe. So,
Wow.
Yep. And I support him here from Florida, and our global corporate headquarters is here in Florida, but we have offices in the UK and in Dublin. So he works out of our Dublin office right now. And so the role is really not just being an executive assistant, but it's bridging a gap. And that's what the term liaison is there for. So it's supporting the additional executives, but it's bridging the gap between, our community relationships and keeping that in the organization and bridging the gap when we can here with culture here and the people here in the office in Clearwater, and across the ocean to him out in Europe. So I like to say an executive office liaison is really the EA to the globe-trotting CEO because it does come with a bit more responsibility and relationship maintenance than a typical EA role would.
So have you had issues where people are like, well, you're not Robert. Why should I listen to you?
Oh, well, I guess very early on, but I have to, my name is Jennifer Lopez, so that immediately opens it.
It's a credibility pillar right there for you.
Yeah, I feel like if it were anyone else in this scenario, that might be more of an issue than it has been for me. But, I'm really grateful because I married into the Lopez name. So it's a bit of an icebreaker and tends to help with that.
Do you have any funny stories related to your name being Jennifer Lopez?
Oh, when I first got married. So funny. In addition to that, it's not just that I'm Jennifer Lopez, but my husband's name is Mark Anthony Lopez. And we got married. Yeah. And we got married, 13 years ago when they were still married. And we went to go open up our bank accounts. And, the lady left the front desk and she asked for multiple IDs. And we were like, we would do better if we were going to have fake names. We would have done better than this. So I probably, get that remark every day since the last 13 years, but it's funny. It's always a good icebreaker, and any way to start connecting with people is a good first step. So,
what about? So you've got a lot going on, and a lot of assistants listening. I get emails or LinkedIn notes and saying, "Hey, I actually think I would like to get into speaking or doing, being podcast guests or being an author or whatever." Do you have any tips for just kind of personal brand, if you will?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Get past the imposter syndrome. I think that is probably the one thing that stops people from getting out and publishing and even posting sometimes or referencing their own notes. Even if you have, tips that might mirror someone else's tips, because let's be real, it's 2022 and Google has been around for quite some time. No one has your perspective except you. And that perspective matters because chances are that perspective will resonate with someone else and it'll help them connect to you. So if you're thinking about it, just do it.
Nice. Do you have plans for any an additional book or anything?
I don't know. I'm sure there will be something down the road. I wrote Chief Executive Mom when I was sitting in the CEO founder seat, and my kids were all still they were 12 and under. And now I am a support role for this great executive squad. And I have 2 out of my 4 are teenagers. And I say it's a good thing that I shifted into this support role, because parenting teenagers is not, being a decision maker anymore. It's supporting them in the way that you might support an executive. So there's a lot of similarities there. If something comes from it, Jeremy, you will likely be the first to know outside of me.
Nice. So, all right. So first, thanks again for being on the show and sharing a little bit about your story. It's been fun chatting with you. I hope we get to meet in person someday, especially if it's in the middle of winter for me and, I can come out to Florida. I do not like the cold weather. But what's one thing you would share to assistants listening who are maybe starting either their very first assistant role or even jumping from one executive to another or one company to another? So what's kind of a onboarding tip for jumping into a new role?
I would say if you're in my experience, of course, most leaders, C-suite leaders, they read a lot. They'll consume. And I would say find out what they're consuming and try to mirror that, because, a lot of tasks will come your way. And if you can understand from the root where those tasks are coming from, the execution will be more effective and more like literally on the same page. I mean, I think when I first joined forces with Robert, I said, okay, what books do you like and what books can I dive into right away? And actually, he's an author too. He wrote a great book called Safe City. It's about keeping cities safe so the people in it can thrive. And I picked up his book, and that saved us about 2 to 3 hours of me learning about him and his core values. And it helped me jump in there. So I would say mirror consumption to the person that you're going to support for sure.
Love it. I always say read what your executive reads and listen to what they listen to, and
yes,
get them to pay for it. That's my thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer Lopez, I had to say your full name,
Yes, sir.
Say hi to Mark Anthony for me, and thank you so much for being on the show. And how can people reach out and connect or find out more about you or say hi if they want to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you can catch me at jlopez@source1solutions.com, and or you can catch me on LinkedIn. And Jeremy, I'm sure you shared LinkedIn somewhere. We'll get a link in there. Okay. So I would say then go to Jeremy Burrows' page and find out more.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes, leaderassistant.com/160. Thanks again, Jennifer. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Jeremy. Have a great day.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com